force in the U.S. military. Thinking that visiting some rougher area of St. Louis might trigger a more aggressive mindset, Jen had chosen the gentrified Clayton district precisely because it was a safe enclave, largely free of crime and unsavory characters. It wasn't so much that Tom was expecting an imminent terrorist attack on Beemerson Street. Intellectually, he told her, he knew that the danger was minimal for people living in the States. However, he hadn't spent 20 years as an operator with the Special Forces Operational Detachment, known as the Unit, without developing ingrained survival habits. Most of the time, he didn't even realize he was doing it until she waved a hand in front of his face and insisted that he actually make eye contact while she was talking. Jen thought of the hypervigilance and constant threat assessment as a type of muscle memory, not unlike his heralded ability to move and shoot with uncanny accuracy or to act calmly and deliberately no matter how chaotic the situation. These were traits instilled in him by countless hours of relentless training. Those hours had then been reinforced on thousands of actual missions he'd participated in and usually led, most of them close quarters battle, or CQB, in Iraq and other hotspots around the world. Street to street, house to house, room to room, where the hardest lessons were written in blood and not soon forgotten. Jen understood that this constant wariness is what had kept Tom and his men alive on the danger-filled streets from Mogadishu to Baghdad and a lot of places in between. But those same qualities had also undermined the stability of his previous 3 marriages and, sadly, made him a stranger to his son, his family, and all too many former friends. Some of the influences from his life as a warrior were subtle. Trained to carry out missions at night, Tom's attempt at normal sleep patterns were ineffective, and what sleep he did get was tormented by nightmares. In the daytime, loud noises made him duck. A car parked innocently on the side of the street might be viewed as a potential roadside bomb and avoided. Someone approaching too quickly could make him switch from a relaxed state to high alert in the blink of an eye. In addition to Tom's mental baggage, his neck and back ached from the times he'd been blown up as well as the surgeries to patch him back together. Sometimes he just hurt in ways that were hard to explain or diagnose, but the pain was severe and it was unrelenting. On that pleasant afternoon in St. Louis, Tom had been out of the unit for 3 years. He was making a living working for a company that contracted with the military to prepare a new generation of special ops commandos for war, as well as a more demeaning entertainment enterprise that trained civilian commandos to kill zombies with paintball guns. But he was still living with a vicious cycle of booze, pain pills, sleeping pills, and antidepressants that had been part of his life in the military and that the Veterans Administration now handed out to him like Halloween candy to dull the physical pain and cloud the memories of the things he'd seen and done. Tom and Jen had met several months earlier when the film and photography company she co-owned with her husband was hired by Tom's company to produce military training videos as well as an advertising movie trailer. This past May, Jen had driven from St. Louis to Indiana to meet the owner of Tom's company and to become acquainted with some of the people she'd be working with. One of them was Tom Satterly, who was described to her as a special operations legend, not just in the unit, but in the competitive and ego-driven world of commandos. Whatever she was expecting, she wasn't impressed at first sight. Tom was 5 feet 10 inches tall and overweight, with a gut. His wide face was ruddy and bloated by alcohol and hard living. He was far from the super soldier she had imagined based on the little she knew about the unit. When they met, Tom had hardly acknowledged her, just a few grunted words before leaving the meeting as soon as he could excuse himself. It didn't take long after their work began, however, for Jen to realize her first impression of Tom had been deceiving. While he rarely said anything to her, she noticed how he commanded instant attention from everyone, including the other former operators working for him on the filming project. He didn't raise his voice or make demands. When he said something, people listened, and tasks were completed immediately. If someone was carrying on a side conversation while he was talking, a glance was enough to shut it down. Sitting at the bar in St. Louis, Jen liked knowing that the man across from her sipping a vodka soda could handle pretty much any dangerous situation. A real-life Jason Bourne. While Jen could understand the environment and experiences that had created this unusual man, she wasn't fond of the macho posturing, especially around other special op veterans who too often acted like a bunch of